So should we start now?
Please.
If everyone's already back? Okay, great. So I think without further ado, because we would like to have also some Q&A open discussions, maybe we can just start with you, Andreas.
Absolutely.
Who wants to share the screen? Luis, you want to do it?
Yes.
Thank you.
So now, after all this impact talks about the measurement talks, about looking to Bali, looking into the new Booking.com results, we would love to dive with you into the possibilities of certification, because certification schemes do have a lot in common with measuring, because whenever you decide to head for such kind of certification scheme, it's very recommendable at some point, and to really make this very systematic. I know this sounds strange at this point, restarting again, we talk about certification, but we talk about the future, and we talk about with you in this workshop series about how we perceive the future about sustainability and tourism, and as the new normal. Everything that we see around the world is diving into that direction. That's why we try to make you as strong as possible for this new normal to come. So let's dive into the certification schemes. And my first chart talks a little about the different approaches. I was very happy to talk with many of you, like with the Indigo Hotels, Sands, Devika, and I was very happy to talk with you about that. Many of you dived already into that certification schemes. We had Attitude with us talking about Made in Maurice certification and Travel Life and all these aspects. So there are many certification schemes out there in the world, and we want to facilitate your decision here to head for one of those. But first, let me make a short differentiation between what's actually at the market. You can divide between different aspects of certifications. There are clear product standards. For example, if you have a certification of a detergent, you talk about the ingredients. If you talk, for example, about there is a EU label, for example, the EU flour for hotels in Europe, that talks about how much liter does a tap or shower is allowed to use once you have that label. So you have a very rigid way of product standards. That's one side of certification. So the more eco-label oriented certifications are in this direction. Then you have in the middle part, you have classical management approaches. So they come from a UK standard that is based on the plan, do, check, act logic. So it talks a lot about the standards, how you establish a process. You should have a policy. That's why in the coachings, we talk a lot about the policy in the beginning. Where do you want to head? You should have targets. You should have measures to reach the targets. You should have training to make your people aware of that. So it talks about the systematic approach of that. So these are the two common ones. And I'm very happy today to give the floor to MS165. I think there is a new name in the room as far as I heard it. And it's a combination of these two, which is interesting to see, okay? And then there's one sidearm that is often underestimated, that is the empowerment of employees and every tourism actor to understand sustainability as a personal issue. And this is what we try here with our workshop series, to make it very personal to you. So if we go one step further, Luis, this is basically what we try to do with this workshop. We have this Confucius quote here: what you tell me, I forget. What Luis, me, and all the people today present you, most probably you will forget it by tomorrow. Hopefully not, but there's a high probability in that. What you show me, I remember. So whenever we can show you something, whenever we can introduce you to a tool or something, we definitely have a higher probability that we are aware of that and we repeat that. What you make me do, that I understand. That's why we introduce you to the tools. And we have realized when you apply the tools, you analyze your company, you analyze your products, then actually this will be persisting. This will never stop. Like when we, for example, had a project on creating a sustainable food destination and let farmers explain to restaurant people in the restaurants why they use that kind of products, for example, bioproducts without pesticides, without glyphosate and all that. All the F&B people never again sold conventional wines. So it's like the way we integrate it in our day-to-day experience and adopt that tools to our day-to-day procedures, then they stay. So if you go one step further, we really think that this is, despite being a huge crisis for everyone, this is the moment in time where we might look back from 10 years to now, that everything is connected, that if you try to do something for yourself and you want to do something to be a good ambassador for Mauritius, you do something for your island, you do something for your employees, and you do something for your guests, and you do something with your suppliers. And in doing that with your employees, in inspiring your guests, inspiring your suppliers to be part of that, we really think that tourism can create this blueprint and create a healthy environment for Mauritius, and that influencing the planet at the end. So never underestimate the power of your network. Even if it's down now, you still have this huge network. And I was really touched upon this 4 days with Mortoko when we created all these beautiful excursions. And I'm sad like hell that it's not being offered now to the market, but hopefully soon it will be. So let me get some into the GSTC criteria. So whenever you dive into certifications, it's very important to look at what kind of certification scheme you're doing. There are hundreds of certification out there in the room, and there was one body initiated, and that is a GSTC, Global Sustainable Tourism Council, that accredits certifications all over the world to a certain standard. And that's very important, because you can do greenwashing with some certifications, but it's very important that we have a certain standard. And if we go one step further, Louise, then you really see that the GSTC is there to really establish global standards. There are UN agencies, NGO, national, provincial governance being part of that worldwide global board, and they accredit destinations and tour operators industry standards. So you are sure that this is one of the highest standard. Okay. And I think one of my last charts before handing over here is really how the GSTC works. So whenever you have a sustainability certification in the world, you want to have a global baseline, a common language, a logic that aligns with all the standards in the world. And that is combining the sustainability management with a socioeconomic impact, cultural impacts, and environmental impacts. So when you have all that components, a certification scheme can hand over to GSTC to say, okay, is this in line with a global standard? Yes or no? And in that case, yes, you are sure that this is one of the highest standards in the world. Okay, so much my introduction before I now hand over to MSB, Mauritius Standard Bureau, because this certification that you're introduced now is a local certification, and it's accredited with a GSTC standard. And I'm handing over to Sandia Bogyar now to really introduce you to that kind of system. And I'm happy to have you with us today to introduce us interesting new certification. It's not so new certification scheme to our group today. So welcome to the stage, Sandia. I'm happy to have you here.